level. Just if you're tuning in right now, let me know if you can hear me. I'm hoping everything should be okay, but still getting used to a couple of these platforms. So yeah, as I mentioned, we're going to be talking about taking your athletic career to the next level. And the goal of these streams is to reach athletes. The goal of these streams is to, as I mentioned in the title for the third time already, help take your athletic career to the next level. And so who I really want to see tuning into these streams is athletes, obviously, trying to break through to the next level in sport. Beyond that, though, if you're a coach of an athlete, if you're a parent of an athlete, somebody involved in that journey of helping athletes reach the next level in sport, in that elite performance sport journey, that is who I'd love to see tuning into these live streams. So if you're watching this live, or if you're watching this live, or if you're tuning in after, I would love to see you tag somebody in the comments to come watch this if they fit that description, if they're an athlete trying to break through, or if they're a parent, if they're a coach, anybody that is involved in that journey. Tag someone in the comments, show this stream to them, share it with them, and let's just help bring more people on here so that we can start to help these athletes together. All right, so I've mentioned it a couple times already, but the goal of this stream is to help athletes take careers to the next level in sport. Thank you guys for tuning in. I see Manny, Brooklyn. Thank you guys. And then let's see a couple of other names here. Jace, nice to see you. Fluke Lukey. All right, so we're gonna get into it now. And so why I wanted to start doing these streams in the first place is that I know that my platform is strength and conditioning. This is the only job I've ever wanted in my life. This is all I've ever wanted to do. And I've been doing it since I was a kid. I was 15 or 16 years old when I started coaching. It was younger students in powerlifting at my high school when I started. And then that has evolved into where it's at now, running my facility here in Calgary, Alberta, coaching 30 plus athletes around the province and actually around the world now. I recently got my first overseas athlete, a boxer out in New Zealand. So Josh, shout out to you if you see this. And, but I realized over the last couple of years that the impact I want to have is much deeper than just the coaching that I can do with any one individual or within, my strength and conditioning business. So just as a beginning point to that, that's one of the main reasons that I started my podcast, the Elite Development Podcast. So if you haven't ever watched that, you should go right away, take a quick look at that. So it's the Elite Development Podcast. You can check it out on any podcast platform. And essentially what I did with that show, Ramil, nice to see you. Essentially what I did with that show was I brought athletes, coaches, and anyone else involved, like I mentioned, in that journey, onto the show and talk to them about everything to do with athlete development. So, I've talked to people around the world at the highest levels. So that was one of the main things where I was really getting into trying to make that deeper impact, trying to get into what else I can talk about involved in helping athletes break through to next levels in sport. So go check that out. But that was one of the main things that kind of made me realize that the impact I wanted to have in this industry is deeper than just what I can do coaching. And really, I started realizing over the last couple of years as well that there's so much more to building a career in sport than just the perfect training program. You see so many strength coaches online talking about, 3 ways to a better squat, or, all of these technical stuff, which, don't get me wrong, is all important things to talk about. We need to be hearing about these things. We need to be learning about these things. But I realized that the impact that coaches can have is so much deeper than just, teaching athletes the best way to squat or teaching athletes the best way to lift or, why doing sprints is important. And, there's so much more to an athlete that can make them or break them within their career. Izzy, good to see you. Hope all's well, buddy. And, there's so much more to building the athletic career than just the perfect program, as I mentioned there. One of the main ones that I came across within doing the podcast was leadership qualities and character. You can be the best athlete out there. You can be a phenomenal athlete, but if you're a pain in the ass to be around, especially in a team sport setting where you're dealing with teammates, you're dealing with coaches, if you're a pain in the ass to be around, people aren't going to want you on higher level teams. When you start trying out for those teams, when you start trying to make your way through those higher and higher levels, people aren't going to want to be around you. And so coaches aren't going to take you, even if you're skilled enough to play at that level. If you're a pain in the ass to have in the locker room, coaches won't take you. Another big one here is daily habits. So, what are the things you're doing outside of just training, outside of just sport, that are going to help you as you keep moving up levels? It's one thing when you're at the lower levels, when you're in your city and haven't moved on to, provincial, national, international competition. If you're one of the best athletes out there already, that's great. But is what you're doing right now going to be enough when you start competing against people all over the province? When you start competing against people all over the country? When you start competing against people all over the world? Is what you're doing going to be enough as you keep moving up the levels? And so start thinking about, things like how you're sleeping every night, things about, your diet, things about your social circle. All of these things are going to have an effect as you keep moving up through your career on how well you're going to be able to compete as you move higher and higher through the ranks. And then the last big one that I wanted to just mention today was intention within your training. I think we've all heard that expression about, being the hardest worker in the room. And I think a lot of people take that as, I've got to spend the most hours in the gym. But if you spend 6 hours a day in the gym and only about an hour of that is hard, concentrated training, then you're not doing any better than the guy who spends 1 hour in the gym and that whole hour is hard, concentrated training. So being able to bring more intention to the time that you're actually spending training, being able to get more out of the hours you spend in the gym is only going to help further your career as you keep going. Because as you get through those higher levels, you're going to have to keep working at trying to add more and more and more to your schedule. And if everything you're doing in the gym is wasting time, that's just going to be time that could be spent better prepping meals, could be spent doing more recovery work, could be spent doing any number of these things that are just going to help you move further and further in your career down the road. So today we're going to keep it fairly short. I'm not going to get into a whole lot, but I'm going to leave you guys with just this. If you're an athlete right now and you're serious about trying to break through to next levels in sport, think about this question. Where is it that you need the most work? What is it you need to work on more than anything else right now? And the most important thing, whether you're an athlete, whether you're a coach working with athletes, is self-awareness and honesty when asking this question. So we all hopefully know that nobody is perfect. So when you're auditing your own career, when you're auditing your own habits, think about these things, ask yourself these questions, but then really be honest with yourself. What is it that you need the most work on right now? For some people, it could be their training habits. They could be, spending a lot of time in the gym and not really making good use of it. For other people, it could be their nutrition. They could be super good when it comes to training. They could be training really hard, training really well, but then going home and eating shitty food. And that could be, you could be getting away with that right now. But again, as I've mentioned a couple of times, as you keep moving through, can you continue to afford to leave that potential on the table? And for other people, so another question I want to leave you guys with as well is, where do you find yourself making excuses? If you're a team sport athlete and you get cut from a team, are you getting cut from the team and then saying, okay, I got cut because the coach doesn't like me, or because of this, or because of that, or giving yourself reasons that you're getting cut? Or are you looking internally? Are you asking yourself what you could have done better, what you could have changed to make sure that if that coach had another look at you, or if you had the ability to try out for that team again, you definitely would make it the next time around? And then finally, what is it that holds you back? So again, this could be a physical attribute when it comes to the sport. This could be, you've got the skill, but you just don't have the speed or the power to keep up with the people as you move into higher levels. Whatever that might be, ask yourself what holds you back, because the clearer you can be on that, then you know what it is you have to improve. You know where you have to go from here, what you have to work on from here in order to make sure that you're making the most of your training, you're making the most of all the hours you have to prepare yourself for competition. And then last but absolutely not least, ask yourself, what is it that you're training for? The clearer you can be on a vision, the clearer you can be on your actual goals for sport, the more success you're going to achieve, plain and simple. Everybody has those days. Everybody has those mornings where, they wake up and they just think the last thing in the world they want to do today is train, work hard, eat healthy food, all of those things you need to do and you need to do to succeed in your sport. So ask yourself, what is it that you're training for? What is your vision? If your athletic career played out perfectly, how does that go for you? And then if you can have that vision, write it up somewhere that you're going to see every day. Write it up on a whiteboard, write it up on your fridge so that you see it every morning when you go to make breakfast. Wherever it is, you're going to see it. Write that vision up. And then on those days that you're not feeling it, on those days where last thing in the world you want to do is get up and work hard, that you're going to still be able to do it when you see that reminder and you realize what it is you're working for. And if you've asked yourself these questions and you've gone over, where you need the most work right now, where you find yourself making excuses and cutting yourself short, where you find yourself being held back, whether it's your own physical skills or, your mentality, your daily habits, anything like that, and you ask yourself about your vision and you're not sure, that's fine, but work on finding the answers to those questions. Work on developing the answers to those questions so that over time you can start to improve them. And the more you can improve them over time, again, the more success you're going to have because you know exactly what it is you're getting up and working so hard for every day. And if you really just don't know where to start, shoot me a message. This is one of the things I'm really started to get passionate about the last few years is realizing that, again, strength and conditioning is an awesome platform, but I can't do everything through just coaching. And one of the next phases of my business is going to be getting into athlete mentorship. So having these conversations with you guys, helping athletes everywhere mentally figure out what it is they need to change or what it is they need to do to break through to that next level in sport, to build the career that they actually want to build. So to wrap things up, again, as I mentioned at the start of the live stream, if you are an athlete trying to break through to the next level, if you are a coach or a parent that is working with young athletes to help them along that journey of creating their dream careers in the world of high performance sport, these live streams are going to be happening every week. Usually it's going to be Tuesday at 9 a.m., but schedules sometimes get a little hectic. If there's any changes, I'll be posting that up too. So click the follow button. Hopefully I'll see you back here next week as well. And if you watch this, whether it was live for the people who joined me, thank you. Whether it was live or whether you are tuning into the replay, if you took anything away from this or have any questions based off anything I talked about here, I'd love it if you'd let me know what they are with a quick comment. And yeah, that's it for me. And hopefully I'll see you guys all back here next week. And I hope you have a great rest of your Tuesday. Oh, still haven't wrapped up here.